cult of Paul E. Dangerously. I booked the matches you want to see. Like Crazy versus Tajiri. Whoa! I'm the cult of Paul E. Dangerously. Like Tammy Cinch and Dawn Marie. I'm the cult of Paul E. Dangerously. The cult of Paul E. Dangerously. The cult of Paul E. Dangerously. Been to Hammerstein multiple times. When Joey speaks, he calls it right down the line. This Sunday night on pay-per-view, the FBI versus Nova Chatty. We got Sabu and RVD versus Hayabusa Shinzaki. I'm the cult of Paul E. Dangerously. Extreme for you, and you love me. And don't forget the blue meanie. Wah! I'm the cult of Paul E. Dangerously. Bubba Ray Devon, the Dudley. I'm the cult of Paul E. Dangerously. The cult of Paul E. Dangerously. Cult of Paul E. Dangerously.
I think this is fake.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
Wrestling's not fake!
It's still real to me, damn it!
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary!
This ain't WCW! This ain't Monday Night Raw! This ain't SmackDown! This ain't even WWE!
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary.
Okay, with that being said, you're listening to Pod. Are you there, Pod? It's us, the Marks. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
I'm Catherine.
Now, for those of you who haven't been listening to this hour-long debacle, I actually felt guilty for running late to this show because I was meeting with someone to discuss something I will plug later and went, oh man, I'm running late. And then Murphy's Law took effect.
No, let's make this very clear. Jason was online on time. I was running late. I texted you to let you know I was running late, but you were later than I was. So the two of us finally got our act together and came home and signed on. And now an hour later, Jason has finally figured out how to hit record.
Well, something happened. I don't know. My computer...
It imploded. We've been having technical difficulties. If you check out what's going to be the new website, we'll post it on our Twitter once it's up and running. We were going to...
Can I preface this by saying that my...
outtakes for tonight, which is just Eddie and I making terrible jokes while Jason tries really hard to fix his computer and not murder us.
Oh, deja vu. Can I point out that the best part of tonight for me, the greatest text message I'd ever received, was, for those of you who don't know, and I'll preface this, but I'll write a blog about it because fuck Matt Damon. I have my long-distance relationship ended yesterday. So I'm getting a text from Catherine explaining why she's running late while I'm hanging out with a friend in a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. When I don't respond, I get, oh my god, are you all right?
I didn't say, oh my god, are you all right? I just said, are you okay? Because at this point, you could be dead in an alley. I mean, you could be anywhere for all I know, because I don't see you ever. I haven't talked to you in days. So for all I know, you could have, died and, your terrible death smell is wafting under the door at this point.
Excellent ways to start the show. And it's we have quite a bit of show for you this evening. If you're listening to this, congratulations. We made it work. We have come through as the Marks.
We're just having some terrible deja vu, because a month, 2 months ago, Eddie's computer broke down. Everything went to hell. Jason was like, I'll take over recording. My computer works perfectly. And I think we've now proven that, no, it does not. And worst case scenario, I end up having to record things, and that's something nobody wants to happen. So you should tweet us at MO Commentary if you're any good with computers and would like to volunteer yourself to fix our technology. We do not pay money, we do not have money, but you can volunteer and there'll be something nice for you to do for us, and then we'll make you laugh.
Okay, suddenly I don't know what to do with the show because I don't know if I want to go on 20 minutes about how Catherine and I were discussing our financial woes with her applying for financial aid for school and for me explaining why I have health insurance, which is incidentally also why my girlfriend broke up with me.
Oops.
Oops. Fuck you, Matt Damon. Or if we should go right into the fact that I am a god and you're welcome. Because Jason has been like the backbone of the show since the show's first incarnation in a Saga's public access studio where we were doing a YouTube
Don't say
show.
that. We might owe them money.
It was in a public access studio nowhere near Saugus.
It was in Saugus, but that doesn't mean it was the one that you're thinking of in Saugus.
Yeah,
We shot
Saugus, California.
We shot the show initially in Kowloon.
We had Donald Wong's blessings.
And initially, Jason's been the backbone. He got on Twitter. We got a lot of Twitter followers. We love all of you. That's a lie. I'm sorry. I will never lie to you again.
We love all of the ones that don't get into fights with Jason.
Yes.
However,
Fuck that
their
podcast.
t-shirt.
I have decided to be very hands-off because I have a tendency to break things, hence why I'm now single. And I had gone on Twitter for about an hour during the pay-per-view and managed to get us on the WWE app. You're welcome. I think I was... Did I just stutter? I think I... The WEE. On the WWE app. Now I don't have it pulled up, so this is a very terrible segue. Initially, I asked you which match you were looking forward to the most, and WWE posted it. And a listener of ours was very cool enough to send us a screen capture of that, so thank you. I don't remember who you were, but thank you.
I'll give you a shout out.
Let's get, when we figure out who it was, we'll give him a shout out. We'll get right down to brass tacks here. The best part of SummerSlam, if you get the opportunity to eat food at Jason's house and watch a pay-per-view, please do. He got this like trail mix stuff. It was like Cheetos and Doritos and Tostitos from the Dollar Tree or whatever his respective dollar store is, and it was phenomenal. He gets these amazing pizzas from Hannaford, and he let me use his computer, which I was gracious of because, you know, me being me, who knows what could happen. But I want to get right into SummerSlam. RVD versus Dean Ambrose, United States Championship. Why was this not on the card?
Yeah. First, okay. I know we discussed last week about how it should have been on the card. It wasn't, whatever. It was the pre-show. What made it worse was that, you know, it started off as a great match. And then they had all of these interruptions. They had the rest of the Shield coming down. They had Mark Henry and Big Show coming out. And you got that huge pop for Big Show and Mark Henry coming out to save RVD that went nowhere.
Yeah.
It didn't even go to something on Raw. So what was the point of it?
I don't know. Like, usually when you do something like that, you're like, all right, we're evening the odds. And when that happens, you kind of tend to go towards the face, pulling off the win. That didn't happen. And then they didn't even really get into, like, a big scuffle, really, if I recall the end.
It went to a pseudo-commercial, and then just came back and it, like, finished the match.
Can we talk about how WWE insists on interrupting WWE programming with promotions for WWE?
Yeah.
Tonight's WWE pay-per-view, which we're interrupting, has been brought to you by WWE, the only company to interrupt its own programming with promotions for, you guessed it, WWE.
Right. Which totally, I mean, it blew the momentum, it ruined that moment, and then it just didn't go anywhere.
Catherine, the moment was lost the second you demoted a returning superstar who was eagerly anticipated with a rising star who was eagerly anticipated to rise with the Ring of Fire match. I remember I was chatting with someone on Twitter and they said, you haven't even seen the full match. How could you say, like, you know, like this is the worst match on the card? Literally 5 seconds later, you're right.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I watched quite a bit of Bray Wyatt from NXT. I went back and watched a lot of his matches once I realized it was Husky Harris. And, and like, in NXT, the three of them were phenomenal. And I don't know if they just didn't have any real chemistry with Kane, But with the exception of that first real promo that they did after beating up R-Truth, when they did the whole "You're not the truth we seek," like, it just fell so flat, and that match was so flat. And Husky Harris, Bray Wyatt, like, the finishing move on the right person looks fantastic. When he does to R-Truth, it's great. They can't land it on the big guys the same way, because Kane can't flip himself over Bray Wyatt the way he has to. So it was a lackluster match that ended with a terrible ending, and I don't know. I was mostly just hoping someone got lit on fire.
Which didn't happen.
May I point out how terribly unprepared or just uninspired the WWE creative staff is when your Deus Ex Machina, if you will, God is the machine. This is a device used in really shitty literary story, it's a literary device where something outlandish happens to save the characters in the end. Only in WWE will you have an asbestos blanket to sort out the barely flames to be able to do a run-in in this match. Your whole build-up to this match was that they're going to find their way into the ring, despite the fact that you have flames around the ring, so they can't find their way in the ring.
Right.
I'm confused just bitching about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It was, on one hand, I want to be like, yay, Bray Wyatt won. Maybe they'll let him do something. But it's, I don't know. It was just really, I don't feel like it was the fault of anyone that was involved in terms of, Bray Wyatt or Harper or the other guy or Kane. Like, it wasn't, the four of them, it wasn't their fault. They did the best with what they could, I feel like.
Well, here's my next question.
They couldn't sell it. They just had no chemistry to do it.
A Buried Alive match would have played out better.
Did they molest Kane after the match? That was literally how the announce team sold them carrying Kane away. And it was ominous and it was cool in that throwback, like, Undertaker sacrifice sort of story mode, but
that was so obvious that they didn't hit it with, like, just the fact that they showed him not getting hit with the stairs.
Come on, they've done that move.
The camera work.
They've done that too many times, and it's like, everybody, like, if you're realistically looking at it, you're like, why wouldn't you hit him with the flat end?
Yeah.
Like, why hit him in the head with the notched out end that happens to be the perfect size to not get your head crushed in?
I mean, I liked the concept of them laying him out and sacrificing him in front of Bray Wyatt and then carrying him out. I thought that idea was phenomenal. But doing it the way they did, it just wasn't there.
Now, here's a hypothetical for you. I'm Eddie Brophy. I work for WWE Creative. Here's my match. Jumper cables on a pole match. The first man to have jumper cables attached to the other man's penis and jolted wins. Would have been far more entertaining than this match.
Yeah, I just think
I'm dumb.
I'm gonna ignore what you said and just go off the premise that you said the match is boring. It was missing something that it needed. They gave it the gimmick to try to make it interesting because they didn't have a lot of chemistry, but I feel like it made it worse because it like we talked about last week, it minimizes the moves that you can do. It minimizes the different options you have to get out of it. And
it's a total lack of trust in your talent. When you do gimmick matches like this, essentially, and Triple H, I don't know if you guys came across this at all. Triple H did this phenomenal, I'll post it on Twitter. He did this phenomenal interview. I think it was Grantland was the publication, where he equates the Attitude Era to being like a Jerry Bruckheimer film. And it's actually, if you read the article, it's a brilliant analogy where he basically says that the reason why WWE strayed away from like the hardcore matches, tries to get away from the Hell in the Cell and the gimmick matches is because it's all filler, no killer. It's all CGI special effects to hide the fact that you don't have a good story. I think with Kane and Wyatt, there's loads of potential there to build a great story, but they just either didn't have enough time or didn't have enough creative input or whatever. We put fire around the ring, barely, and to hide the fact that we're not totally sold on Wyatt as a wrestler, as a performer. You're already selling your talent short, both Kane and Wyatt, to have a good, solid, back and forth singles match, And you make it even worse by the fact that we know you don't have enough faith in these guys, and it's dumbed down by this terribly diluted gimmick match. And it did work in its time. Unforgiven '98, I think, because it was the first time it was ever introduced. I think that was the best Inferno match you'll ever have. The only Inferno match that worked. It was a solid back and forth match. It was high stakes, but it just do away with it. We're done with it. Move on.
And not to mention, they spent 10 minutes at the beginning going, "Oh look, we're gonna light it on fire." It took away that moment of, "Oh God, the ring's on fire," because you got to see all the firemen sitting there and testing it out. Well, if you're gonna do something tricky and crazy like that, to then be like, "These are all of our firefighters standing at the ready," you're like, well, clearly something's gonna happen with the firefighters, because that firefighter is way too buff to just be a firefighter.
Meanwhile, it's the guy from NXT.
Exactly.
Now, what would have been more impressive is the accidental, if Jason remembers this correctly, all the territorial guys playing druids at WrestleMania 20 in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Almost set the stage on fire.
Those are all chaotic guys, too.
Are they?
Really?
Yeah.
It's more of the accidental Inferno match that almost took place during Undertaker's intro, or his entrance during that match. But moving along here, Damien Sandow, Cody Rhodes, bored as hell the whole match.
I think the biggest moment of that match was realizing Cody Rhodes didn't have the mustache. Okay, you guys know I was looking forward to that match for a very long time. I love both of them. I love SmackDown. I was looking forward to that match. I wouldn't say I was bored the entire match, but I felt like because it wasn't for the briefcase, it was missing something. I think if they had made that match for the briefcase, then there would have been more, you would have been really fighting hard for one person or the other, because you wanted somebody to go on and get the belt.
Well, how about you add this? They had the exact same match with the exact same ending the following night on Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And neither of them got an entrance.
Yeah. So, dear WWE, no.
Yeah. If that had been the Raw match, that would have been perfect. Or if they had done the match for the briefcase at SummerSlam and then done the stupid rematch at Raw, that would have been okay.
Oh, can we also talk about how Caitlyn botched a bow?
Yeah.
During the Ziggler versus AJ and Big E match? Oh, leave it to a WWE. I said this on Twitter. Leave it to a WWE diva to botch a bow.
Oops.
And of course, Jason might be getting a little impatient. I can hear the bottle snaps in the background.
Oops.
Jason, the match of the night for you, or perhaps the match that really, I kind of felt like this was really, again, a two-match pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So let's get right into it. CM Punk, Brock Lesnar.
That match, I don't even know how it was so amazing. Marking out from the beginning to the end, from bell to bell, was amazing. 5-star match, match of the year, match of the decade. Nothing will top it. Nothing.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Well worth the wait.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I don't think they could have taught. You heard me. You said it best on Twitter. It's like when your buddy next to you is marking out, it's a good match.
No, I believe what I said was, and this actually happened, Jason and I were sitting on his couch, and at this point we both pulled ourselves away from our computers, and Punk went to do the go to sleep and Brock reversed it. I seem to remember this in this rare Mark moment, and it doesn't happen often, where you're sitting next to your buddy and you both go, "Oh no," synchronized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you realize it's still real to us, damn it.
Yeah.
When you realize here's a pre-planned, pre-scripted match, and the second we see our guy have his finishing move reversed, and we're like, "Oh no!" It's like literally when any Boston team has fucked up a title win.
Yeah.
It was such a great moment, because that was when you realize why you're a fan to begin with.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't invited to watch the pay-per-view with Jason and Eddie.
It was the last minute thing.
So I was watching it with my best friend, my brother, and his wife. And I remember the exact moment that I was like, oh God. And it was that first time Punk went after Paul. And then I was like, nope. that's the end. Because as soon as he started going after Paul, you're like, this is not going to end well for you no matter what you do. But it was such a phenomenal match. And I'm really excited because Punk isn't going to give up on it. He's not going to just be okay with what happened. And, I mean, they showed a little bit of that on Raw. But I think, we had talked about, what the possibilities were if they could extend it into a longer feud. And I think that's exactly what they're doing with it, I hope. And if not, they're retards because that was fantastic and you need to continue on.
Other than that not being a very politically correct statement, my friend.
Hey, do you know what?
She's got nothing.
Shut your face. You've said way worse.
Oh, totally. What I would call that moment is I used to have this best friend, and his aunt was mind you, she was an Elks Club Dart champion. She used to wear the jacket everywhere. She treated WWF pay-per-views like football games, like NFL games. Her favorite thing to say during a scripted wrestling match, stupid Stone Cold, whenever a Stone Cold versus Harvey match went wrong. At Jason's house, I finally had my stupid CM Punk moment when he paid more attention to Paul Heyman, and I forgot that wrestling is fake, and just, stupid CM Punk, stupid.
That's the best moment.
Yeah, exactly.
When you have that moment where you forget that they already know what's going to happen. It's like when you watch, like, a scary movie, and you have that moment of, don't turn off the light, like, what's wrong? Or, like, turn the light on before you enter the room, stupid blonde girl. Like, you yell at you can't help but yell at the television. Like, that's the best moment, because that's when you're completely involved in it.
So in other words, Catherine just equated CM Punk to the big-breasted blonde girl who, when she's running out of the laundry room, keeps falling down. And at some point, you're just like, you know what, bitch? Fucking die already. You know what? You deserve this. Stupid CM Punk. Stupid.
Pretty much.
I think that was...
I thought it was such a great match. I was really happy with the way that played out.
Yeah. I didn't care who won.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see something awesome, and it was awesome.
I mean, clearly I wanted Punk to win because I'm a Punk fan. So, like, I wouldn't say that I didn't care who won. I just wanted it to be... But I do agree, like, I just wanted it to be a great match, and I think they both really pulled through. Yeah. Not that there was... I don't think there was ever a doubt to me that they would, but I'm glad that they followed through with it.
Yeah. Now I'm just hoping that, this year they took the easy money and went Rock and Cena, because at WrestleMania, because, okay, that's going to draw money and we know what it's going to do. All right, this is your easy money match for the year again.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen again. Like, I don't necessarily want to see it at WrestleMania. I'd like to see both of them do something different. But Survivor Series, I think that's an easy... There's no doubt in my mind that should happen again at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Jason just wants to see that because it's in Boston.
I do, and I want to be there and I want to see it because I think that's going to be a phenomenal match. Like, I've never been to, like, a match that, like, stood out and was, like, truly... Okay, like, I guess I saw Undertaker and Punk, but something that's, like, epic, that's talked about for years and years and years. And I think
basically what Jason's saying is you want to see two wrestlers in their prime live.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Jason got the ultimate mark experience. He got to go to a WrestleMania, and he got to see CM Punk and Undertaker. Here's the deal. Undertaker's not in his prime anymore. He's way past his prime.
It was great. It was Match of the Year quality candidate, but it wasn't all it could be.
Right. And if you watch an Undertaker match, you know that an Undertaker match is always going to be a great match. Like, Undertaker at WrestleMania is a given. But to see a match that's two guys that aren't, necessarily that promised at, a slightly smaller pay-per-view or a smaller show, when, like, you just get more of, like, those chills because you just have that moment of, oh my god, they can pull this off. Mm-hmm. Whereas, the WrestleMania Undertaker match is, like, you get the chills because it's the Undertaker match, but it's not the same thing.
It's special, but it's not in the same sense of...
Well,
I don't know.
I want to segue here. I don't mean to cut you guys off. I want to segue.
No worries.
I did consult some, and we got some great feedback, and I'm not on the Twitter, so I can't read the feedback. Fuck me. Natalia Brivella, and I had said, before the match, has Total Divas, and you can still weigh in on this, 978-276-9418, or at MO Commentary on Twitter, has Total Divas set back the Divas division that much more? And a lot of our listeners said, yeah, it has.
Yeah.
And I think that was completely evident in the fact that this was a really shitty Divas match. Especially for Natalya, because she's, as far as I'm concerned, she's like top notch in terms of the Divas in the locker room, because she comes from such an impressive pedigree. And she's such an impressive talent, and you wouldn't know it by watching that match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't agree that it was a shitty match. I don't think it was the best that either of them could do. But compared to the quality of the matches that we've been seeing lately, I think with the exception of that great AJ Caitlyn match, I feel like this is the best match to come from the Divas in a long time. And, maybe that's part of the problem, that we have such low standards for the Divas right now that I can look at a match like that and say, do you know what, that was actually kind of good. But I feel like maybe it's a step, maybe it's a new direction, but it's a step out of where the Divas division has been.
Okay.
Well, I definitely want to cover this final one because a month ago I was at Jason's house, again, eating all his food, drinking all his alcohol, when Randy Orton pulled off the upset, in my mind, in winning Money in the Bank. Jason, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, there's no bigger mark that I would want to ask this than the marks I did ask on Twitter. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. We all knew Cena wasn't walking out champ. So the question was, who's walking out of the building with the belt? And it kind of ended how I figured it would end. I think most Intelligence fans kind of knew that, okay, the cash-in's coming, but it was the question of, is he going to beat him, or is Randy Orton going to take the title? And then adding Triple H in there kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, this is going to go in the favor of the heel. And obviously it played out the way it did, but I think Cena and Bryan did a phenomenal job in telling a great story in their match.
Yeah, I think that match was, I normally tune out of John Cena matches because I think they're boring. I think it was a great match. I think it was a good match for Cena to end on before he goes out on injury. I think it was a high point for him. I think it was a great match for Daniel Bryan. And do you know what? Even I said last week, Randy Orton's going to cash in. And Jason went, oh, no, maybe they'll actually like Daniel Bryan. I was like, nope, Randy Orton's going to cash in. But, for everybody to be sitting there and watching it and to go, he's going to cash in. He's going to cash in. There's 10 minutes left in the pay-per-view. Clearly something's going to happen. But for, literally, I was in a room of people saying, it's going to happen. Look, there's 10 minutes left. And the moment that Triple H put his hand on Daniel Bryan's shoulder, the entire room just went, because that was that part that was, not known before. That was the part of it that surprised everybody. I thought that was done in a great way. I didn't see it coming. I know the people I was with didn't see it coming, and we all watch a lot of wrestling.
Can I point out that I have now coined this the Jason Smith 1045 prediction? Which is anytime that, whether it was when I was working in a radio station watching Raw and talking with Jason on Facebook, or I've gone to his house to watch wrestling pay-per-views, and a pay-per-view, a match ends at exactly 10:45, you will get the Nostradamus of WWE, Jason Smith. Eddie, it's 10:45. It's 10:45, Eddie. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked with Jason, and I'll get that, Eddie, it's only 10:45.
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing. I turned to my brother and I said, it's 10:45. Something's going to happen. Orton's coming out. And I think they did just a long enough of a delay and during the fireworks to celebrate that it was like, okay, he's going to come now. He's going to come now. Where is he? And then you just had that moment of maybe it's not going to happen. And then for Randy Orton to turn around and start walking away again, you're like, well, that was I literally said, well, that's lame. They didn't do anything. And then Triple H put his hand on Daniel Bryan's shoulder and turned him around, and I was like, oh, snap.
This is why, but however, even Triple H addresses I'm wrong, we'll get to that. While he still has a vendetta with Randy Orton given their past, never trust former stable members. Never.
Yeah.
The second you know that Triple H is the guest referee and that a former stable member is a Money in the Bank holder, is when you almost want to say it's predictable, but it's still, the history between Triple H and Randy Orton. Yeah. And I know Jason marked the fuck out later on, because after I was done with Twitter and I said my goodbye and I said, hey, like me or follow me on Twitter, whatever the fuck you do with Twitter. And I went home and I saw Jason posting all these Evolution posts. I didn't want to admit, the first thing that went through my mind was, Batista is still out there somewhere in the WWE Universe stratosphere. He will come back. Ric Flair, controversial or not, was at the WWE video game press conference. There's still the potential that you're going to have an Evolution reunion. And I don't want to bank on it because it's a Mark's dream. However...
Didn't Triple H say something on Twitter about it?
I didn't see that.
I didn't catch that. If he did, as far as I'm concerned, Evolution was and still is one of the greatest stables that ever existed in WWE history. You can throw that on TV tracks, and I can get torn apart by the same people I got torn apart with when I said AJ Lee's a future Hall of Famer. Evolution, by far, is one of the greatest stables, or was one of the greatest stables, because you were emotionally invested in how much you hated them.
I'm with you. But I think the way they're playing it out now, which I kind of love, though, is kind of like a 2013, corporation, like how there was in 1999 and stuff.
No, I was actually, and I was going to say this to you, Jason, at the pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan is Mankind.
Okay.
Randy Orton is The Rock. There's your line. It's the corporate versus the misfit.
And then you have the Shield, which is the big boss man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can we please? I'm sorry.
No.
Why is the Shield suddenly the McMahon family personal security?
I love that idea.
But I thought they were supposed to be like against injustice, and then all of a sudden they're like escorting them around and fighting their battle. Like,
okay, Catherine.
When do they take orders from Brad fucking Maddox?
Catherine, can I point out something that? And again, I'm not shitting on Catherine because this has been addressed. And Catherine, great wrestling fan, knowledgeable wrestling fan, the greater power, 1999. Why was The Undertaker taking orders from Vince McMahon? Undertaker hated that storyline because he even asked, why would The Undertaker be taking orders from Vince McMahon? But he did, hence the corporate ministry, hence Vince's reveal, hence the ladder match between Austin and McMahon.
True, but I understand what you're saying, but you also understand what I'm saying by what the fuck? Like, where did this come from?
I said it when Vince McMahon revealed himself as a higher power. What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
Why would The Undertaker, after that whole build-up with Undertaker abducting Stephanie and showing up at the McMahon mansion and this and that and burning the teddy bear, why would Undertaker be, like, the higher power than Vince the whole time? Like, that doesn't make any sense. There's no continuity in that in terms of the character.
Right. Are you more confused by that or the fact that Hornswoggle was the anonymous Raw general manager?
I don't even want to go there. I still think it's a laptop.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And I quote...
Oh, I miss the coal mine.
I don't miss the coal mine, and I don't miss JR's like rogue announce table. Well, we've already touched upon Raw. Then with Raw, you have Triple H saying he respects Cena. You know there's gonna be a Daniel Bryan Triple H match.
Yeah, that's a WrestleMania match.
No, that's a Survivor Series match.
I don't know.
A WrestleMania match should be a la 99 WrestleMania Rock Austin. It should be Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton.
I don't know. I see it. It's a WrestleMania quality match. That's what I mean. You could put that on the marquee and that can sell now.
I feel like it would be really cool to kind of have Daniel Bryan have to work his way up to Triple H.
Yeah.
So, maybe he has to take on the Shield, and then he has to take on Randy Orton, and then he kind of has to go through the line of people before he can even get to the match with Triple H. And to me that would stretch it out, months and maybe to the next WrestleMania, because I do think that would be a high caliber match.
Well, again, history repeats itself. Austin ran the gauntlet through the corporation before St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yep.
They had Bryan run the gauntlet with the Real Americans, where it's another gauntlet match. Bryan goes through members of the Shield and Orton, and then Triple H, ties him up in the rope, spits in his face, and says, "You're not worthy."
Now, I'll pitch this. Okay, if we are making a 2013 corporation, is there anybody else that you see that could be in it? Of the current roster.
If you want to build a group of solid heels, get Ziggler into the equation. Ziggler.
Oh, no. I love him on the outside. The fact that he's up against the Shield, went in by himself, and almost pulled off the victory, I think that boosts him so much more, where now you have essentially how you had you had Austin, you had Mankind, and then you had like Triple H even at that time. It's like you'll have these three faces, and they can rotate off, and then there's a 6-man tag match with all of them, and then.
Okay, well, if you want my version of this, the Paul Heyman guys join forces with the McMahons, and then you have your faces. You have Bryan, you have Ziggler, you have Punk.
Yeah.
There's your union right there.
The only part I don't like is the fact that Triple H and Brock just had like a year-long feud. That's the only part that I would frown upon.
Yeah. And I mean, the McMahons and Paul Heyman have the big long history, and part of that is the Triple H and the Brock. But I think like if they did the whole putting aside our differences to fight the common evil, like, to gang up and make this mega group, I think would be kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Eddie on that.
But is there any other names that you guys would think?
No. Here's the thing: your corporation is only as good as your union. The reason why Over the Edge was such a phenomenal pay-per-view was because you had Big Show, you had Test, you had Shamrock, and you had Mankind, all former members of the corporation against the corporate ministry. You can take former Paul Heyman guys. You got Punk. And then you could take Ziggler. Why not Cody Rhodes? Throw him in there.
Yeah.
God, there's a ton of guys you could totally.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ryback be involved in this.
I would.
As the Muscle, though, I think his new gimmick's kind of interesting, where he's just this bull.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it's terrifying. He's gonna rape people in the shower.
he's the new Heidenreich.
Okay. It started off with a poor independent wrestler guy getting the tuna fish in his ear. That was just gross. And then at the pay-per-view, it was the gazpacho. That one was kind of funny. Still weird. But on Raw, for Ryback to be like, that's not your bag, like, kneel on the ground, turn on the shower, like, get yourself all wet. I think that was getting somewhere the WWE didn't want it to go, and I was horrified.
As I told Catherine, he was the Jackie Chan to the remake of The Karate Kid. Jacket off. Put on your jacket. Jacket on. Jacket off. No. Here's the thing now here's the wild card I'll throw at both of you right now, and I know you're going to hate me for this. John Cena.
Good or bad?
You got 4 to 6 months to wait for it, though.
What side are you putting him on?
I would love to see this because for me I'd be satisfied either way. John Cena versus the corporation. John Cena as the corporation.
I think it depends on how well Bryan gets over in the next 4 to 6 months.
I mean, if moving with our hypothetical situation, if we have, I'm going to call it this super group with the McMahons and the Paul Heyman guys, and, if we can get Bryan and Punk and Ziggler to kind of go up against these guys, and they do turn it into a big match, I mean, how awesome would it kind of be if there was that moment at a pay-per-view when Cena's healthy, if he makes his return to fill in against Punk and Bryan and Ziggler, and he is kind of that bad guy, and he comes in on their side because he is the company man, he's the face of the company, so why wouldn't he go with the McMahons?
Well, then now
if there was that moment where he came in and it was like, John Cena's back, it's like, yep, nope, I'm totally friends with these guys.
It needs to happen suddenly. Like how?
Right.
It
would have. No one would have to have any idea he was coming back.
No, but I mean the turn would have to be.
Hold on. 978-276-9418 or at MO Commentary on Twitter. Then here's the major question: who is the guy to represent the good team? Because even though you have Bryan, you have Punk, you have Ziggler, all main eventers in my eyes, you need that definitive good guy.
I think they're looking at Bryan.
Yeah, I feel like you're his underdog, like it's the underdog versus the massive company.
Yeah, but you have the underdog, but you need someone to lead the underdog. I'm going to throw this out there, and you're all going to laugh at me, and you're going to hate me for saying this. It's going to be TV tracks, and he's a fucking idiot. Ultimate Warrior.
Again?
No, I'm saying, like, if you're building to such a huge, like, we're going to turn the business around, this is the angle that's going to turn the business. If you have this good guy faction, they need someone to lead them. Maybe not as a wrestler, but maybe as a manager.
At that point, I'd say go grab Austin.
Ooh, that is a good one. But see, that's the thing. I think if you have 3 young guys leading the good guy team, you need at least one veteran to lead them. I've been
sorry.
here before. I've seen it all. I know what to do in this situation.
Austin makes more sense in that scenario.
But we just spent all of the last episode complaining that if he ever came back, he would beat a feud with Punk, or should beat a feud with Punk. How, like, talking about, like, surprise moments, how amazing would it be if he came out and then, like, led these guys against the corporation and was on the same team as Punk? I almost feel like that would be as good as a feud with Punk.
Well, the whole reason I even suggest a Ultimate Warrior is, lest we forget the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD, where Triple H has said he was the most unprofessional man I've ever worked with. This man has an axe to grind with McMahon and Triple H.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'm a mark for Ultimate Warrior. He was my favorite growing up. If Ultimate Warrior is back in the company in some capacity and they're promoting this game, I want to see this man at WrestleMania. I not only want to see him in the Hall of Fame, I want to see him at WrestleMania. Give him one last moment to represent what he said at Access. He never had a male role model, and he's a role model, despite the fact that he's batshit crazy. Have him represent the superhero.
I don't hate it.
It's not plausible. That's the reason why people could hate it, is it's not plausible, but it's not entirely, like, I don't know, like, the Warrior has to come back. Like, we need the Warrior. One more time, we need the Warrior.
You could do that at Survivor Series.
I really do. I think, and again, marks across the country or across the world can disagree with me. We need the Warrior.
You could hide Warrior in a 5-on-5 match. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we need the Warrior. The Warrior against Lesnar, even. Like, come on. Like, you have two of these.
Like, kill him.
He probably would, but he's the fucking Warrior, dude.
No, I'm saying Brock would kill him.
I don't know. I'm still a mark for the Warrior. I think that if this WrestleMania is going to go over, you got to have the big finale between the corporation versus the underdogs, but you need someone to lead the underdogs.
And I feel I would agree more with Jason for Stone Cold than I would the Ultimate Warrior. But I know you're never going to agree because you're a huge Warrior fan. So
I you know what? Here's another one. Undertaker.
That makes sense. That's even more plausible than Austin coming back.
Dude, Undertaker doesn't have much left in the tank. He'll tell you otherwise, but he doesn't. He's trying to be Hall of Fame retirement match. Have Taker come back and be like, no, I've been a WWE guy. I've been your Undertaker since the start.
I mean, they could. I mean, as much as we would kind of hate to do it. I mean, if they did something like that, and then, you know, come WrestleMania, they have, you know, the two factions going against each other. If they did, you know, some tag matches, and then like a one-on-one, like the two leaders of the movement face each other, then you could lead it into, you know, Undertaker versus, you know, Triple H, and have that be like the last match was him. Like,
oh, hell no. Here's where you go with it. If John Cena, and this is such a mark, don't take this seriously, guys. This is like a Mark stream kind of scenario. Triple H reveals John Cena has been in on it day one. He set up Bryan to be set up by Randy Orton. Undertaker versus Cena.
Love it.
Undertaker versus Cena. We all know it's inevitable. If before Undertaker retires, he's got to go for the face of the company. Go Cena. Cena Taker.
Yeah.
For once, end a WrestleMania with like a holy shit, this is a Mark moment match.
Yeah.
You have to do your tag match with the corporation versus like the new union, say, and you end it with the two biggest stars you have, past, present. It's got to be, in order for the storyline to pay off, it has to end at WrestleMania number one. Number two, it has to end with the guy that's been there, he's the veteran and he's always been there, and the new veteran, which is, and people argue this, Cena's the new veteran. He's the new Hogan. New Hogan.
I'd go for that. Yeah. In our hypothetical situation, I would go for that.
And you know what? That'll be the first time in a streak match where people won't say, "Oh fuck it, I don't want to see the Taker win," because he always wins. You put Taker in a match with Cena, everybody's behind Taker, and that would be the best opportunity for Cena to get over on Taker and the streak. Because now you went from hating Cena to you want to kill Cena.
Right. Because if Cena, now as Super Cena, ever went up against the Taker, ever went up against Taker and won, it would just be bullshit. Everybody would be upset. You know, all the 8-year-old kids that watch wrestling would be in love with it. But people that are true wrestling fans would be upset with it because you would be doing it just so you could John Cena beat The Undertaker. But if you did a storyline like what we just kind of talked out, where Cena isn't, the superhero, he's kind of, the super villain, then for him to go up against Taker and to get that win, I think would be more satisfying than anything he could do right now.
Okay, now here's a really bad analogy, and if you don't watch Scrubs, you won't get this. I think it was the pilot episode of Scrubs where JD realized that Bob Kelso, he's the GM, he's supposed to be the good guy. Bob Kelso turns out to be the biggest douchebag you've ever met. Dr. Cox, who is the jerk, and he's calling people girls' names or whatever, and JD has a moment where he says, well, if Bob Kelso's the bad guy, who's the good guy?
Yeah.
Perfect for Undertaker. If Cena's now the bad guy, who's the good guy?
Right.
Rest in peace. It's always been and will always be Undertaker. Undertaker is WWE. At the end of the day, when that guy retires, I'm telling you, there will not be a dry eye in the house because Taker has represented that company to a fucking T. He has always been a fan favorite, even when he was a heel.
Yeah.
Yep.
You will have so much emotional investment in a Cena-Taker match, especially if you build it around Cena betrayed the fans. He's now on the corporate side. But we, as fans, we all know Cena's very corporate. He's not a wrestler. He's corporate against our guy, Taker, who it's like, we bitch and we bitch and we bitch. He comes back, he leaves. He comes back, he leaves. Have him come back for a match that really matters where we'll actually be like, oh my God, it's Taker. Taker, do it.
Right. And I think it would be good to have, especially if it was his last one, but in general, any Taker match, to actually have it part of, the big storyline going on. Yes, they did a big storyline with Punk versus Taker, but it was always the side story to Cena and Rock. So, I feel like his matches, especially in the last several years, have always been, the side story. It's never been the main thing going on. So, if they could take the Taker match and make it, this big centerpiece for everything that's going on at WrestleMania, and then, especially if that was his last match, then that would just be phenomenal.
And not to sound morbid, but the best way for Taker to end a WrestleMania match, finally, have his character die in the ring.
That
it's
sounds...
it's one of those scenarios where, let's say you have Taker versus Cena, right? Taker wins. The streak is intact. Taker's character dies in the ring. He gave it his all. He beats Cena. He beats Superman. And he just collapses in the ring. And the next night, Taker says, that's it, I'm done. It's over. I'm done. I gave you everything. I beat Superman. I beat the corporation. I'm done.
Yeah.
Why not? That's the best way. If you're the Undertaker with your fucking career, what better way, and especially in a very dramatic way, to just pin 1, 2, 3, Undertaker wins, Undertaker stands up, do the fist in the air, and he just collapses.
But do you really think that, clearly you know more about them and everything, but do you really think that's the way he would want to go out? I've always kind of gotten the impression that if he lost, he would want it to make it a moment, like passing something off to somebody, or have it be this big thing. I feel like, even I was watching an interview with Edge when they were talking about, his last match, and, he could have done you could look at him and say, he did the douchey thing, he won the belt, but he didn't have a choice. But he said, if I had my ideal last match, I would have put someone over. And I always kind of felt like Undertaker is the same way. If he's going to lose, and that's going to be his last match, he would want to put somebody else over.
But it should be somebody that needs it.
Or does it, though? Or would it be better to take someone like John Cena, who has gotten over for years as a face, but would probably have a hard time going over as a heel? But if Undertaker put him over as a heel, that would be the end of John Cena as a good guy.
I won't lie, that's an excellent retort, actually.
Yeah.
Because now you have to reconsider what putting over means. Do you
Right.
put over an actual like superstar? Or do you put over a character?
Right. Because, yeah, you know what, John Cena...
No. 978276941. No, I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
Do you agree with Catherine? That's my main call for tonight. That's going to be the main tweet, I think. Would it make more sense to put over a heel turn than it would be to put over an actual superstar?
Right.
Now I'm going to throw something at you. Like, I noticed this, and SummerSlam was kind of the place where it kind of dawned on me. If you look at the entire WWE roster, is there anybody on the roster that would be better switching roles from if they're a face to being a heel or a heel to being a face? I looked up and down the roster, and there's only maybe 2 people that I can think of.
Shoot.
Miz and Mark Henry. And I got nothing else for anybody else.
I would have said Layla, but she is a heel again. I did not like Layla nearly as much as a face.
Seriously, I think everybody is in the position they should be in.
I said Wyatt family.
Not yet.
Can we make 3MB a face group? I've been calling for a couple of... I would like
they're
them...
a comedy heel group, which is instant face, unrecognized face.
They're the Andrew Dice Clay of WWE fact. I'll put it this way. If the Wyatt family were to go face, and let's say the Wyatt family aligns with, say, Punk, Ziggler, and Bryan in this fictitious idea we have, damn.
That would just be so confusing, though. There would be no way to work their characters into that.
Not yet. It's too soon. They get over because they're creepy.
Yeah.
But how long can they stay creepy?
Forever. How long are they going to wear the sheep mask?
Did you see the wedding photo of all the people in the sheep masks?
No.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, man.
All right.
I feel like the best thing that the Wyatt family could do would be to gain more members. I think if they converted someone to their group, would be awesome.
Depends who they convert.
I mean, it'd be really funny since they just kind of kidnapped him, and we were making the joke that Kane should be converted and come back with the metal mask. And when he takes the metal mask off, it's the sheep mask. And he takes the sheep mask off, and it's the Kane mask. Because he just has too many masks. But like, if they took someone like that, someone who is seen as, you know, a strong person, but, you know, maybe is faltering in his character right now, doesn't really have a strong storyline, and kind of converted them and kind of made that big reveal, I think, it would give them a little bit of veteran power that would kind of make them seem a little bit more credible. Maybe give them a little bit of help, because...
I have your guy, Zack Ryder.
No, I said veteran. No, he's been around for forever. But...
Ooh, fellas.
No, like, it sounds really weird. I kind of like the idea of Kane, but Kane I don't think would ever do it. But I think it would give them a little bit more credibility. It's like when you watch a scary movie and somebody dies. And you go from saying, all right, well, they're bad people, to, oh my god, they're bad people, anybody could be taken.
Well, we totally looked over Del Rio versus Christian, so I'll just move on.
The most interesting part of that match was trying to figure out what the hell happened to Del Rio's face. For about 5 minutes, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, the initial report was that Drew McIntyre was the one who beat him up, and I was very excited, but then it turned out Drew McIntyre saved him, and that's kind of be embarrassing for Del Rio. I mean,
what did happen?
Apparently, like, they're still not entirely sure, like, clear about what happened. Some people said it happened in the hotel, some people said it happened in a bar. Apparently he got, like, into an altercation with 2, they said it was black guys, was the description. And they apparently got into some verbal altercation, and then they started beating him up. And then apparently Drew McIntyre intervened and saved him. And Del Rio refused to press charges. And my dad was like, why wouldn't he press charges? I was like, because then it would come out that he was saved by Drew friggin' McIntyre. But it came out anyways.
And then we didn't cover the Matadors, which is essentially Primo and Epico as bullfighters.
Great idea.
Terrible.
Recycling it.
I don't know what's worse, that they're recycling a terrible gimmick, or that they're recycling a terrible gimmick with terrible people. I do not like Primo and Epico.
What happened to Rosa Mendez?
I don't know. She's still on Twitter. Last I knew, she was sent home for being drunk, and she hasn't been seen since.
Poor Rosa.
Except on Twitter.
And also we have Ryback potentially versing Goldberg.
Yeah.
You know what match I'd rather see? Goldberg versus Gilbert.
Oh, man.
I really don't care for Goldberg. I never have. I've always seen him as a more steroid-induced Steve Austin, who has shittier matches. So no thanks, Goldberg. I'm all set.
You know what I found out is he was only a one-time WCW champion.
Okay.
I felt like it was so much more than that. I don't know why.
I know. I feel like they already brought back RVD.
Yeah.
Who has the airbrush singlet. And if they then bring back Goldberg, we can just get rid of Ryback. Because we just put Goldberg in RVD's singlets and we're good to go.
How do we feel about Ricardo being RVD's new manager?
It's a terrible decision. Terrible.
I thought it was genius because it was random.
Yeah, I love Ricardo so much, but why RVD? Does RVD need it?
He's not a promo guy, though.
How much pot do you think RVD smoked when he came up with this idea?
Maybe.
Hey,
Somebody said, I forget who it was, said, that's probably why they were paired together.
Hey, man, I got this idea, right? Hold on, man. Hold on. Okay, so Ricardo, hold on.
Hey, man.
He's my manager now. Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
And just all of creative and all that pot smoke just being like, you're right. That'll totally work.
I mean, RVD is not Spanish or Hispanic, which means Ricardo needs to announce him in English.
I would love if he announced him in Spanish.
Why would he?
Because who gives a fuck?
Roberto Van Damo.
Well, we are talking about Ricardo. It does lead us to another topic, which is the new WWE site, which is their auction site. It's WWE Auction, and you can.
A heated argument over this as to what we should start a Kickstarter account for.
Yeah.
A engineer for the show to ensure that Are You There Pod, It's Us the March never happens again, or acquiring the bucket that Del Rio used to smash in Ricardo's face.
For $160-something, we could have the Alberto Del Rio signed bucket used on Raw to attack Ricardo Rodriguez, and it has dents that look like Ricardo Rodriguez's face.
So you can make like a mold?
I don't want a mold of Ricardo's face, I just want the bucket. Or we could get the guitar that Dolph Ziggler smashed over his back, and when he injured him and he was out for conveniently 30 days.
Catherine doesn't admit that she wants to clone Del Rio. Using
I don't want to clone Del Rio. He's not all that pretty. I don't want to clone anybody. I just want Dean Ambrose.
We should probably jump to our Twitter questions now. Why was Drew McIntyre deep pushed so hard? Because he's Drew McIntyre.
I love the three guys from 3MB. I feel like out of the three of them, Drew McIntyre was kind of building towards something, and clearly something happened around that time. I know there was other stuff going on in his life. Something happened that we don't know about, or do know about and didn't link together, because he had this huge push, and it did decelerate very quickly, and he kind of got bounced around for a while. They didn't really have a place for him, and he just kind of
not seen anything in him.
I mean, clearly there's something, because.
And I think the fact that they had Sheamus at the same time didn't help him.
Yeah, well, I mean, they signed Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Wade Barrett at the same time. And originally they were a faction together, down in developmental, I believe. So, I mean, clearly they saw something in him. They still see something in him, otherwise he wouldn't be in the company. Although they still have JTG.
I was going to say that.
But, I mean, I feel like he has potential. I feel like he can do more than they let him do. But there's something we just don't know or haven't connected. I know he's been injured a lot, and maybe that has something to do with it. I know he's had several injuries during his time with 3MB, so who knows?
Well, let's get to this last tweet before we get to a few things before we end. Ed K. Is the EGO faction a flawed idea since the concept is for one of them to win the BFG series? I have no idea what the fuck that is.
What are you talking about?
That's TNA talk for you non Impact watchers. That's essentially Kaz, Christopher Daniels, and Robert Roode. I don't know. I like the idea. I mean, I think TNA is slowly going in the right direction. They got rid of Brooke Hogan this month, so that's a positive.
The fact that they even hired Brooke Hogan is a strike against them. To get rid of her is not like, yeah, they got rid of her. It's, you signed her?
I agree. But I think it's, if you were looking to go in a positive direction. Actually, since we are on the subject of TNA, AJ Styles is asking fans where he should go. Because I think his contract's coming up. Would you want to see AJ Styles in WWE?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think he is TNA's Sting. You know what I mean? How Sting never came to WWE and is always recognized as the WCW guy, and that's the biggest thing you can associate with Sting is that he never came to WWE. I think if you want to be a star, you need to come over to the other side.
All right. Well, since we're getting towards the end here, because I think that was about all for our itinerary. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary on Twitter. I will be more active on Twitter because I had a fucking ball talking to you guys on Twitter. I really enjoyed it. I think it was so fucking cool to actually talk to our listeners. That's kind of why I want to bring something up, because there's something I'm going to be involved with that I think would be cool if we got listener support with, or co-host support with. I'm actually going to be doing a walk for suicide prevention on September 28th at Lake Quannapowitt in Wakefield.
Awesome.
I'm looking for donations. It's something that I feel strongly about. I won't lie to you. It's something I've attempted. It's something that someone close to me has attempted. And it was something that prior to doing the show, I was talking with someone who lost their mother for doing. I think right now I have a $500 goal. I'm at $155, which is amazing. I would love, and Catherine and Jason and I have talked after we did the last show about this show being a platform for us in terms of careers and in terms of wanting to just explore certain areas of being a wrestling fan. I'm not going to sit here and bum you out, but I'm sure there are wrestling fans that have killed themselves. I know plenty of wrestlers that have. I'm sure it's something that I think would be great that if we do something like this, we can get more attention for, and attention that is well-deserved. So I'll post the link on the Twitter. I don't expect you to give money. I realize how tight everybody's purse strings are. If you would like to donate something as little as $1 to help this cause, I think it'd be great. But I would like to, as doing a podcast and realizing how many followers and how many listeners we have, kind of ridiculous in a way that I do the show with you guys and I have a lot of fun doing it. Totally underestimate the fact that people listen to this shit. So if we're able to have listeners and have fun talking about wrestling, if a few things come up here and there that are actually kind of serious, why not? So I'll post a link on Twitter. Would love if anyone wanted to donate or just offer support. I think it would be great. Getting that out of the way, because it's a bummer subject, but I think it's something that needs more addressing. So there's my 2 cents. There's my plug for the week.
Excellent. I hope we can get some support for you.
No, definitely. Even if you guys just retweet whatever's sent out.
Exactly.
It's all about awareness.
So,
whatever everything anybody can do to help is always appreciated.
Definitely.
Now, however, getting from a bummer subject like killing yourself and losing people you love to something as horrible as that, Jason had said, now, if you get our listeners to support you and to donate, you should offer them something in return. Now, I would love to leave this up to you, 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. Don't be shy. The dumber, the better. If you're donating your money to something, you don't know me. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea the kinds of things that I do in my spare time. You have no idea really what my agenda is in doing this. I swear it is very positive and altruistic. If you want me to do something silly, if you say, Eddie, I'll give you $5 to do this walk, I want you to do this, the funnier, the better. Like, the most asinine idea. If you want me to get someone to dress me up as Piranha Man and wrestle Jason in his backyard, fine.
This may or may not happen even if you don't donate money, though. Let's just make that very clear.
I'm just saying, like, if it's something that you may know somebody who has tried, or you may know someone who has succeeded, I really just want to, as an able-bodied person, do something positive. And if your kind of end game in that is that I support what you're doing, I think it's a great idea, but I want you to do this for me, I'm in. So I'm leaving it up to the marks to decide what will Eddie do with your donation. If it's something as simple as you want to co-host with us certain night, I'll put it this way, I'll make it more specific. If you donate a lot of money, I owe you. So we would owe you a spot on the show if we even get the show to record that night.
Yeah.
Or if it's something as simple as you want to hang out and get a beer at a wrestling show, fine by me. Any little bit helps. So I just think that in terms of the show being what it is and how it's growing, why the fuck not say, hey, I'm doing this for certain reasons that are kind of awkward to admit. Fine. Whatever you want. Me dressed up as Piranha Man wrestling Jason in his underwear, or...
Why do I have to be in my underwear?
Because it's for charity.
It's for charity.
We do anything for charity, people.
So there's that, and then there's just, I mean, looking ahead now, Night of Champions, main event.
Is it anything but Bryan and Orton?
I'm just wondering what the odds are in Bryan going into a title defense with Orton.
Unless it's some kind of tag team match with Orton and Triple H against Bryan and whomever.
A partner of his choosing.
Yeah.
I mean, Bryan will gets a rematch match.
That's true.
So, I would be very surprised if it wasn't Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. But I think for anybody to think that it would just be Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton with no outside interference would be pretty.
Yeah. And I think it's awkward, or not awkward, but simple to say that it doesn't end up in Bryan's favor. Because if you're building something, it doesn't make very much sense to put the belt right back on Bryan at the next pay-per-view.
Right. Unless it was some freak of nature where somebody came in and saved. It would have to be a big moment to get it back for him.
To tie things up and a few loose ends we have, Gangrel will be a Rocket Shock this year. Jason and I are still adamantly pursuing that because I think that'll be a great show. And I'm kind of convincing Jason, what better place to track down Gangrel than a Rocket Shock?
He owes us. He doesn't know us, but...
He doesn't know shit, but you know what? I think he'd be a cool guy to hang with, and I would love to drag someone's ass to Worcester with me so I don't have to go alone. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. You guys are awesome on Twitter. I had a fucking ball. There really isn't much to discuss in terms of where I'm coming from, so I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a show.
Yeah. Well, I just want to do a quick shout out. I did kind of harass them on Twitter, speaking of guests that might come on. And it seems like there's a possibility that we might get Mark Sherman and Scotty Slade as a special guest one week. They both reacted favorably to the idea. Mark Sherman just made the PWI 500, so...
Number 481.
481. Yep. And Scotty Slade seemed pretty excited about maybe coming on. So, fingers crossed, help us harass them on the Twitters and get them to come on our show.
So we are Marks on Commentary. We do ask a lot from our listeners in terms of helping us produce the show, if you're able-bodied. And again, I'm doing Squawk in September. It means a lot to me. If any of you want to help out, fantastic. We'll make it worth your while if you do.
Yeah.
You know, we do the show. I mean, clearly the show is free. We don't make any money from it, clearly. We are all very poor and very broke. So anything that we can do to help you guys or that you guys can do to help us, it's just, helps everybody. So if you guys can help Eddie out with his fundraising, that's excellent. If you guys can help us out on Twitter, that's awesome. If you guys have something that you would like us to help promote or do with you, just let us know and we do what we can.
It's not going to us, It's for a good cause, even if you hate us.
Oh, yeah. And you're more than welcome to hate us. Lots of people do.
Yeah. You can do it in spite of us.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to say, if you fuckers want to donate some money to this cause and you want me to wear a Marks on Commentary shirt, which I'll probably have to do a Sharpie because we don't have any.
Well, these are excellent Sharpie shirts.
and you have to take photographs of you holding his hand and say, fuck this guy wearing the Marks Commentary shirt, I'll do it, as long as you donate to a good cause. So.
We could even say if you donate, X amount of dollars, you can come on the show and tell us how much we suck.
Which, technically, you can do anyways with our voicemail.
Yeah.
We'll still play it.
But you can communicate.
Yeah, I feel like we're encroaching into desperate pleas for attention now.
978-276-9418, the desperate plea line. It's open 24/7. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
I'm Catherine.
This is the Marks Commentary.